everyone, to another episode of yet another Star Trek podcast where three, count them, three friends, two Star Trek nerds, one Star Wars nerd, talk about Star Trek. I see you counting, Drew.
I am.
I see you counting, Drew, and your eyes do not deceive you. There are only two of us right now, but we do have a third. His name is Brad, B-R-A-D, like the whiteboard says. And we love Brad. Brad's just not here right now.
Brad's not here.
Bathroom, car troubles. We don't know. But wherever Brad is, he's probably not listening to us right now.
No, I think Brad stopped listening to us from the moment he stopped recording with a regular basis.
We still love Brad.
Yeah.
Brad is still very much our friend. We still talk to him a lot.
Yeah.
But enough about Brad. Who's Brad anyway? In front of me, 30 miles away, is my good friend Drew. Hi, buddy.
Hey, what's going on?
You're looking really good. Your beard is immaculate. I saw your calves earlier.
Yeah.
They are strong as ever. Just
Thank you.
some mighty oaks you got there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really jealous.
I am going for the mighty oak look.
Yeah.
I read in the catalog, get calves like a mighty oak, and that's been my goal ever since, man. Dude, I'm tired. I'm so exhausted. We have been my wife and I have been like really working incredibly hard at getting our yard ready for the summer.
Mhm.
And it is planting season here in Connecticut. So we do a vegetable garden every year, and we've had some ups and downs with the vegetable garden over the years. Regards to like critters eating it, we've had invasive bugs that took out our squash plants. Last year, a groundhog who has been the bane of our existence for a couple years, but mostly okay. Groundhog had babies, and the babies killed a lot of our plants before they actually grew large enough to produce. So we dug up the entire fence perimeter, and credit to my wife who did the bulk of this because I work ridiculous hours. She did like a trench around the entire perimeter of the garden, and then we attached a second fence of chicken wire and buried it like 6 inches under the ground in the hopes that it will keep the groundhog out, and put everything back, made it all nice and neat. And then she did like a mulch bed around that. So now we have like a mulch perimeter so we can kind of mow around easily and not have like grass growing in the fence. It looks fantastic. We also built a raised bed from scratch. I did that with my father a couple weeks ago. And we bought 2 more metal prefabs. We got, I think, 4 cubic yards of compost, and filled the beds with some twigs and logs that we had, and then backfilled the rest with compost that we have. I still have half of a pile of compost in my driveway. Excuse me. So I'm going to have to deal with that. And on top of all that, I've been building a fire pit with a patio, and it has been a wonderful learning process about how to make mistakes and roll with the punches.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy with the way it's coming out. It looks natural. It doesn't look like a like I really was trying to avoid the sand pit look, and not that there's anything wrong with that sort of look. It just wasn't the aesthetic I was going for. I'm trying to go for a natural grassy look. So I currently have a square mud pit in my backyard that eventually I think will look very nice.
Nice.
But for now,
You're not going for the sand pit. I take offense to that because I just made mine gravel.
I
I took the easy way out. I feel attacked by your statements.
I assure you that was not my intent. Like my parents did the same thing that you did though. We had a pool when I was growing up, and when we took the pool down, we turned it into like a patio area, and it was wonderful, but it was the upkeep on it ended up being worse than we expected. And I don't know if it's because they just kind of took what was there and just put rocks in it and called it a day, or what, but for all the weed prevention that they did, they still had a bunch of weeds. and it's just kind of a pain. So if there's grass growing in between the rocks already, then
Yeah.
when they turn into weeds, it's just part of the aesthetic, and I can just mow over them like I do all the other weeds. And
Yeah.
that's kind of
Or
what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for something that's gonna, the stones will lock in place once the grass is grown in, and then everything will just be great.
or if weeds go through, you can get your act together and kill the weeds and grow proper grass.
Well, you see, if I grow proper grass to begin with, then I won't have to worry about weeds. But with the garden, we try to avoid using herbicides.
Oh,
So,
gotcha.
so even though the fire pit is a pretty decent distance away, I'm concerned about runoff and things
Sure.
like that. So
Yeah.
I try to keep an organic garden, and I'm proud of what we've done so far. Not that like I go crazy about like eating organic food, like that's not something that we do. But with the vegetables that we grow, everything has been 100% fertilizer free, pesticide free. Everything that we use, we do a lot of like mulching and tilling and putting all these nutrients back into the earth from the yard. So it's not uncommon for me to take if I mow and bag, take the clippings and put that in the garden, and if there's herbicides on that, you know
Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah. I get it. Last thing I would want is go into your house and be like, oh, what's that metal taste in your squash?
yeah, and then you'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, you have radiation poisoning.
That's not funny, but the twist of events so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Buddy, I don't have the patience that you do for a garden, and I every time you talk about it, I see the love in your eyes. But I guess it's this kind of the same thing. Like you can hear me talk my head off about like taking pictures and editing. It's the same kind of love and passion, but
Mm.
like the things I'll talk about, you'd be like, your eyes will glaze over.
Well, I mean, it's like I do video editing, right?
Hmm.
And I enjoy it, but it is a tedious process. And you know, would you want to hear me talk about video editing? How I created a 3-cam multicam project and synced all the audio up and you know did that like
If you're showing me real life examples, then yeah, no,
well
absolutely.
well then come on over, I'll teach you, and then I
Right
could.
now,
Yeah.
I mean, we have a show to record, bud.
Thanks for listening, we'll see you next week.
And this is why Brad left.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Brad's like, I want to go to Drew's house. And he can't because he decided to move.
Yeah.
Man,
Well,
uh, we listen. I love and hate being an adult.
mm,
I know we talk about being tired.
yeah.
I have a love and hate relationship with being an adult. My wife, who just turned, I can't say it, but it's yeah. The week after, like she had like one of those things that happen in the eye where it's like the capillary kind of just
Oh.
burst. It
Ugh,
was like a week after her birthday, man. A week
man,
after,
what a
and I'm
time
like,
to remind you of your impending
yeah,
doom at the age
yeah.
of.
And then she sat in the couch working on a PowerPoint, and she hurt her back. I'm like, oh my god, this is real. Like you turned 40, and it's
Yeah.
just have to fall apart.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
I
you
feel
got
it.
a couple more years, right?
I have less than a year.
Yeah.
I'm 39.
Yeah, so
And I'm at the gym. I can't like go like super low for squats anymore
mhm.
because I don't know if I'll be able to get up.
Well, I mean, that's a mobility thing, so that's something to work towards. But I mean, in all seriousness, like I've never been like a big gym person, right? But I've been an athlete my whole life, and
Yeah.
I got to a certain point where um, the the stuff I was doing was causing more injury than anything, right? So I kind of needed to slow down and stop doing it. And now I do workouts at home, and it's not because I'm trying to look good, or I mean, like all of those, health benefits are a side product of me just trying not to wake up in pain every day.
Yeah.
So it's like preventative maintenance. My exercise routine, um, I try to stay on target with that so that I don't wake up and my back hurts or my knees hurt or whatever aches and pains I have from, 30 plus years of exercise, things
Yeah.
like that. So if your goals shift because you just don't want to be in pain, you will make it just fine as a 40-year-old. Trust me.
I my goals originally, and I promise, guys, this is a Star Trek podcast. We'll get to the Star Trek in a second. I
Look, Captain
promise.
Kirk's in great shape, right?
He
So
is, he is. And he works out shirtless.
right.
My workout started as a way of, combating high blood sugar.
Hmm.
And once I got over that, once I beat it, I now have shifted towards mental health maintenance.
That's also an excellent reason.
Yeah, this, like, if I don't go to the gym, if I'm having a bad week and I don't go to the gym because I'm tired, it doesn't make it better. It doesn't make a difference. It probably makes it worse.
Yeah.
Going to the gym is my therapy. I'll feel even just fractionally better after I complete a workout. Lifting heavy things and dropping on the floor. It feels good.
Mm-hmm. Well, I because we've been doing so much work in the yard, I have not done any physical like gym work, and it's definitely bugging me, man. Like I really want to get back at it and get back in the groove because like I'm starting to get some of those aches and pains I was talking about are starting to come back, and but I will say that the mental health side of things are still being fulfilled because like with the yard work, I'm seeing something get accomplished.
Yeah,
And
that's also an adrenaline. That's dopamine.
yeah,
It feels good.
yeah. Like, I sat down after rolling around in mud for 4 hours today and just kind of looked at the patio and, I still have a lot of work to do on it, but I'm like, hey, this vision is actually coming to fruition. This is going to be great.
Yeah, I don't know if you had to roll around in the mud for 4 hours.
Well,
I think you could have shaved some of that time down.
yeah,
Personally.
but it was a nice day.
Oh man! Speaking of nice day, I have no way of transitioning that. We watched the episode of Star Trek, Drew and I. Some of us watched it earlier than others. Some of us probably fell asleep towards the middle.
This feels like gaslighting.
Episodes. Wait, you fell asleep too?
No, I was wide awake.
Okay. I didn't fall asleep either.
Yeah.
But we watched season 2, episode 8, Mud, which after seeing the episode and after like right now saying it out loud, iRobot? Is that like a play on?
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that because when was that
Yeah.
book written?
Not sure.
Let's see
I'm
here.
not sure. I literally just put it together.
1950. So yes.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. So I guess now we've had 2, book references in one season with, Moby Dick and now iRobot. So, oh man, this is going to make the conversation a little more different for us.
Sure is.
Yeah. Why don't you fill us in? What happened, buddy?
All right. Well, the episode begins with Spock and McCoy walking together down the corridor, and they walk past a new member of the crew. His name is Crewman Norman. He's a new addition to the Enterprise. McCoy turns to Spock and says, "This dude's a weirdo," but Spock hasn't picked up on any weird tendencies. Norman then turns around once they're gone and ducks into auxiliary control, which he does not have security clearance for. Beats up everybody inside and then suddenly gains control of the Enterprise. Back on the bridge, Sulu notices the ship has made a strange course correction and he tries to override, but he fails. Meanwhile, Norman is beating the tar out of everyone, and he has made his way in engineering to do so there too. Before help can arrive in engineering, Norman heads up to the bridge and then just opens up his stomach and reveals that he's an android. Well, no wonder Spock liked him after all. Norman says he has locked the controls of the Enterprise and set them on a course that they'll arrive to in 4 days. He then takes a nap right on the bridge while standing. Rude. What'd you think of this opening?
I thought like it was just 0 to 60.
Yeah.
You know, just I think within the first 5 minutes, it was this 6 foot, however massive unit is taking out an entire like squad.
Yeah.
There's one guy who jumped from like the top stairs, and Norman caught him and just like suplexed him.
Yeah.
Or you body stand though. I chuckled. I laughed. I said, "Man, what dedication! What makes you think it was gonna work?"
These guys, they go all in on the stunts in this show.
Well, the guy that jumped at Norman after he got body slammed,
Yeah.
he cartwheeled away. Watch it again. Watch it in slow motion. He kind of lands on an angle where he's able to cartwheel away.
Yeah.
It is the weirdest thing. It is so funny. I pay attention to the fight choreography because I think it's hilarious and beautiful at times. But yeah, he cartwheeled away.
I have to look this up, man. I don't remember the cartwheel. I do remember Scotty standing in next to the communicator, just kind of like grunting and like playing like dead for an extended period of
Right.
time. Like it was a
Yeah.
really awkward thing. You know how like, you're hanging out with some friends and somebody shows up that you don't really want to talk to, so you just kind of hang out in the corner and you glance
Yeah.
over your shoulder every now and again until you see that they're talking to somebody else. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like Brad has done to us.
Yeah, so many times. um it's kind of what it felt like, but it took a long time, and it's like meanwhile Scotty should have been like helping his dudes out.
Scotty can't fight,
Guess not.
apparently. But isn't he like Scottish?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, though they're not the fighters. I think the Irish are.
Scott's
Is that a
throwdown.
stereotype?
Scott's
Is that a
throwdown.
stereotype?
It is a stereotype, yes, and
Okay.
Scott's throwdown too, man. I'm Scottish. You want to fight? Let's go.
Oh, you know what? You're right, because groundskeeper Willie is Scottish.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, he likes to fight.
Anyway, 4 days later, this dude just wakes right back up on the bridge. Like he wasn't even standing there in everyone's way the entire time. He insists on beaming down the entire bridge crew, otherwise, he'll destroy the engines and strand the Enterprise there forever. They reluctantly beam down, only to be greeted by the one, the only Harry Mudd. Mudd has created his own harem of androids. I mean, there's 500 in the Alice class alone. They are there for him at his beck and call for any needs he may have. He fills in the crew on where he's been. And guess what? It's prison. Thankfully, after being sentenced to death, he was able to flee and wound up here. Sadly, he's gotten quite bored of his android friends, but they will not let him leave unless he's got some replacements. Hence, the Enterprise crew. He gives the crew a tour of their new home, including a shrine to his wife, Stella.
Stop.
Oh, is that where you got the name?
Would you respect me more if I said yes?
I might.
No.
Eventually, the androids manage to completely take over the Enterprise, led by Norman. Spock realizes there's only one Norman, but many other types of androids. They decide to target him with nonsense logic, but first they'll test the plan. Spock tells two Alices that he loves one of them, but hates the other, and it breaks their brains. Then they move on to Norman and attack him with silly dances and paradoxical statements. Guess what? It works.
It works.
Has one parting gift to Mudd. Kirk and crew leave him on the planet in a type of parole, but with a twist. 500 copies of a nagging Stella waiting to yell at him for every little thing. He begs them for help as they leave the planet and Mudd. To sum up the episode, robots make bad crewmates. Harry's harem is too expensive for Starfleet stipends, and 500 Stellas can't be wrong.
What a really this episode was kind of a palate cleanser for me. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good.
It was fun.
It was shenanigans filled.
Lots of shenanigans.
Chekhov is a horn dog.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we knew that in the first appearance of Chekhov.
Mm-hmm.
But man, he's like, too bad you're not real. Hint, hint.
Wink, wink,
To
nudge, nudge,
these,
say no more.
Yeah. Yep. And once he found out that they're programmed to do anything, he's like, all right, death by snoo snoo it is. I'll do it. I was surprised that Uhura, you know, being all in on wanted to be immortal. That was
Well, that was a ruse.
well, the plastic body, like how she had, you know, interest in being immortal, like that. I mean, you know, it was work. It was kayfabe. Right?
Sure.
Can I use that? Have I used that term correctly? Kayfabe.
I think there's
You're
enough
the
crossover. Yeah. Wasn't a shoot,
Drew
brother.
Drew is my expert on wrestling terms, and kayfabe is one I'll try to implement a lot now.
I like it.
Thank you, buddy. And then just the logic overhaul, Just shenanigans. My favorite gimmick, by the way, is the Vulcan sleeper hold not working.
Yeah. Wasn't that great?
That was
Spock's
great.
like, what do you mean this doesn't work?
Right. He's like, what are you doing back there?
Hi there! If you think there's room for yet another Star Trek podcast on the internet, have we got a show for you? I'm Chris.
And I'm Dan.
And we're the hosts of the Stone Age Gamer podcast, the official podcast of StoneAgeGamer.com, which is, you guessed it, yet another video game podcast.
Every Friday, Chris and I spend a few hours talking about the world of video games from a retro gamer's perspective. We cover everything from the latest news, older games we missed out on, even non-video game related stuff like lawn care and cooking and child rearing and whatever other nonsense is going on in our lives.
I love rearing children. Tune in every week for recurring segments like the SAG Cartoon Express, where we talk about old video game related cartoons and how great they are. The 10, 20, 30, 40, where we discuss notable game releases from 10, 20, 30, and 40 years ago, quarterly-ish trivia episodes, interviews with people who are usually way cooler than me, but not cooler than Dan, and more.
So if you like Star Trek, and really, if you like Star Trek half as much as I do, and want to listen to two guys ramble on about video games, well, you should check out the Stone Age Gamer podcast, which is part of the Geekade Podcast Network.
And as always, keep playing games.
I'm a big fan of Harry Mudd. What a fun character. You know, it's the first time that we've seen a character that was introduced in a prior episode show up again, right?
Okay.
At least as far as I can recall. Maybe I'm missing something. I mean, I suppose
Well, that's what I was going to ask you next. Like, you know, this is the first time I've seen someone come back besides Khan, right? We've seen Khan come back.
Yeah, but we don't see Khan come back until like 20 years later, right? It's a movie. I suppose we could say Captain Pike, you know, with the menagerie, but I'm pretty sure this is the first occurrence of like a recurring villain, so to speak. You know, played by Roger C. Carmel. Just a delightful performance, whimsical and mischievous, I would say. Not necessarily evil, you know. It's often that we see evil villains. He's just a very mischievous villain. He's trying to make profit and get away with, you know, stealing things, but he's not looking to kill people or, you know, commit genocide or anything like that, right?
Right, he's out for himself.
He's out for himself, right? Any means necessary. And, you know, he'll leave people hanging high and dry if he has to, but that's you know, not where his intentions are. It's he's just looking out for himself.
Yeah, I like when there's a villain that can match the wits, or he's like the opposite of our protagonist.
Mm,
So I think Khan is a really good example of a really good antagonist
yeah,
who has like a mental capacity to beat Kirk.
yeah,
Like he is brilliant, and also he's physically capable of handling himself in a fight.
right.
Harry Mudd can match wits with Kirk as well, which it's good to see. So having a good villain, having a good antagonist towards your protagonist, starts with can this person hold their own?
And I
Are
think
there?
I'm sorry, to your point, like he's not trying to match physicality with Kirk because he won't win,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So he's outsmarting Kirk. He's
Yeah.
using what tools he has available to gain the upper hand.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know enough about TNG to talk about like Q.
Mm.
Q was apparently, and again, you could keep me honest. Q was Picard's like mental, or someone that matched wits with him. Was he even an antagonist?
Oh, Q was very much an antagonist, but Q was different because he was essentially a god.
Hmm.
He had powers that were beyond anything that Harry Mudd would have been able to do. Like he could snap his fingers and change you or change your surroundings, or just put you in a bad situation or save the day at whatever whim and whatever desire he had. So I think it's tough to say that Mudd is on Q's level. They're just so different in what they bring to the table.
Mm.
You know.
And this is why I miss Brad for these conversations, because I think if I were to say, "Hey, Brad, give me an antagonist in Star Trek that can match wits with the protagonist," because then he'll bring up like Voyager, or he'll
Mm.
bring up Deep Space Nine,
Yeah.
and he'll give us some examples that way. Damn
Well,
it, Brad, come back to us.
I mean, if you want to talk Deep Space Nine, I can definitely offer up some examples there. Gul Dukat
Hmm.
is, Cisco's equal and antagonist throughout the entire series. Kai Wynn on a different level. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't get a lot of recurring characters in the original series that I'm aware of, and to a lesser degree in Next Generation, although we do have some.
Yeah. Yeah.
Q
Even
Q
in
is probably the one that recurs the most frequent from a villain
yeah,
perspective.
even with Pike, even with Daddy Pike,
Yeah,
I don't know if he has like someone that equals him in terms of being an antagonist.
not a single individual.
But he's had a race like of
Yeah,
you know.
like the Gorn. Have,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like I thought they were kind of do that with Angel, from season
Oh my
one.
God. Angel's great. I
Yeah,
miss Angel.
yeah,
What a fantastic character.
right, exactly. And I was expecting to see Angel in season 2,
Mhm.
and we didn't. So maybe season 3, right? But
You know who would be a really good um antagonist for Pike?
hmm.
Stick with me on this.
Mhm.
Gordon Ramsay.
Please go on.
Think about it. Pike likes to cook,
Uh-huh.
and Pike takes pride in his cooking.
Uh-huh.
Imagine if there's a time travel episode, and to keep the cover, he has to cook on Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen, and Gordon Ramsay just tears his dish apart. That he would be the villain in that case.
I got nothing.
That's great. It's the kind of nonsense that you develop when you are
Yeah.
this deep into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
So what did you think about the idea of there being so many classes of androids, right? Where a whole bunch of them look the same. Like
It seems excessive, but I guess it kind of keeps in line with Mudd's first appearance. Didn't he have um like genetically altered women in his first appearance as well.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
because he talked about how he had to get rid of them when he got the androids.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean,
and
like,
even this race of androids, like they just like they're the last of their race.
right. I mean, is it like an assembly line? Like, how does that work?
So that's what I was going to ask you. Norman told Kirk or told one of these guys that they were made by someone called the Maker.
Mm.
And I think that's the kind of name drop that you take as an Easter egg and then develop somewhere along the line. So, we talk about this a lot. We talk about how if this show was made in today's time, a name drop like that, the
Mhm.
Maker, is something that would be referred to on a previously on, recap.
Right.
And then this person comes from the shadows. Hey, I'm the Maker.
Right.
And then that person becomes the villain. So if there's no one called the Maker, I feel like that definitely drops the ball.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anybody by that name. So
Yeah,
ball,
and
ball dropped.
well, maybe not. Remember, the lovely thing about Zaddy Pike's show is that it takes place way before
Mm.
the original series. So theoretically, you could pick up on a character named the Maker and this race of androids, and then have Pike fight him and defeat him and kill him, and then
Mhm.
years down the line, Harry Mudd finds his creations.
Right.
Oh man, I'm cooking right now.
I see that. Yeah.
I'm cooking.
Yeah. I mean, I just looked up the makers on Memory Alpha, and this is the first and only instance that they have been,
Yeah,
ever raised.
that definitely drops the ball for me. That's
A little bit.
unacceptable.
I mean, like, I hear it, and I'm not opposed to it, but I also want to kind of encourage the current creators of Star Trek to diversify the things rather than call back to them constantly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of callbacks, and I feel like some of the mystique has been ruined in some cases. So
Yeah. And that kind of, brings me to my next thought. This was a shower thought, like legit.
Oh,
I was
okay.
thinking about how Star Wars is now kind of going all in on the TV side of things.
Mhm.
And as a Star Wars kid, as a 90s kid who discovered like, the original trilogy, seeing Star Wars on the small screen, it's weird for me.
Mhm.
They've had their stumbles, they've had their missteps. And when you make the obvious comparison of Star Trek versus Star Wars, I feel like Star Trek has a better handle on TV shows than Star Wars does.
Well, I mean, Star Wars
So,
has a better handle on movies than Star Trek does.
yeah, no, absolutely, because I see Star Wars films as an event film.
Right.
Now, we talk about taking the mystique away, right? We have a Star Wars show coming out this month. I'm super excited for, by the way.
Yeah.
It's called The Acolyte, and it
Okay.
takes place during the High Republic era. But it takes away the mystique of this time before the Sith really, came into play.
Right.
And when you answer too many questions, like you said, Drew, that mystique goes away.
It does.
I'm totally with you.
I think part of the charm is like a great example is Boba Fett.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boba Fett was awesome. Even though he was kind of if we're thinking about it, like if you look at like Return of the Jedi, Boba Fett has one job and he's really bad at it. Right?
He's bad at it.
He's bad
Yeah.
at it. But
Yeah.
he was the coolest, right?
Yeah, when he appeared in Empire Strikes Back, he was the coolest. He was a
Right.
masked guy with this hand cannon and a jetpack.
Right.
Who doesn't love a jetpack?
Yeah. I love jetpack. I want a jetpack.
Yeah. I will say that Patton Oswalt's rant on Parks and Rec about Boba Fett's return is so much better executed than what they did with the TV show. And if anyone's listening ever wants to dispute that, listen, Drew's DMs are open. Fight him. Like, he will defend this tooth and nail. Don't come at me with this.
You can follow us on Twitter at yet another ST pod.
But no, look up Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
I think it's Parks and Rec, and it's like a 7-minute rant.
Right.
that he
Yeah,
does.
there's an outtake. It's the because they edited it down, but he does like a full on like filibuster.
Yeah. Yes, that's what it was. He
Yeah.
was filibustering.
Yeah.
It's great, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I love it. It's great, and he gave us the best Boba Fett episode.
So I just noticed on our crawler going across the screen that I spelled yet another stpod.com incorrectly. I just wanted to point that out. Oh, I missed the th. It's just
Yeah,
says,
Drew, you only have 8 jobs, Drew.
oh man, I gotta fix that. So you see my eyes darting around. That's why I'm fixing it in real time, baby.
I listen. Whenever I see your eyes dot around, I assume that's you trying to just stay awake.
Well, that too, but
Yeah.
yet another Okay, go on. Anyway.
This episode was a surprise, and man, we have now that we've made the connection between iRobot and iMud, which it shouldn't take a genius to put 2 and 2 together
Right.
once you see the episode. But weren't the 3 laws of robotics just kind of explored during that time? The robots would not harm. They have to protect, and they also have to obey orders,
Right.
But they also can't conflict with the first 2. So the logic bomb, where let's see, what was a good logic bomb?
Well, I
When
think
Mud was hurt,
yeah.
right? And they have to save him, and the only way to save him is to put him on the ship. But then that also contradicts the orders they were given.
Right.
You know,
I mean, there were a few of them. I thought the one where Spock told the twins, I love you, but I hate you. And they're identical. So, like, the idea of loving one of them and hating the other one doesn't make sense, because you should love them both or hate them both because they're identical. Right.
Yeah.
And it's not even like identical twins in a way where, like, well, they look the same, but they have different personalities. No, these are identical. Right.
Yeah.
So, that broke their brains. And then, I mean, I thought some of the slapstick comedy was a little weird, where like everybody's dancing to a song that doesn't exist, and the whole thing with the explosive device that they quote unquote planted, and the fake explosion. I thought that was a little silly, but I liked the concept of what they were trying to do. They were trying to outsmart the smart.
Yeah. Norman telling Kirk straight up, like, "Hey, you cannot beat me physically."
Yeah.
Kirk took that in stride. Kirk could have called his bluff. Kirk could have opened up the the cargo bay doors and blew him out the ship, but nope, he decided to match wits.
True story.
Yeah.
True story.
I would like to see more of this race, though. I think that there's more to explore.
Well, there's plenty of opportunities to explore, various android style races in Star Trek. Data would be the most famous of those, but there's other characters and other races that we will encounter in Star Trek. I don't know if we're going to run into anything more like that in the original series. My knowledge of the original series is broad picture. So, but after we finish watching this, we're both experts. So there you go.
Yeah, more so than Brad.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, Brad will have to catch up. Love you, Brad.
Let's talk
about a really good episode.
Yeah, let's talk about Stella, actually. What do you think about Harry Mudd creating? I saw you looking for your cat.
I did.
What do you think about Mudd creating a shrine to his wife and then giving her the ability to nag the holy hell out of him and then shut down at the simple command?
You're married. Think about it. You're married. Your wife, kind of scolds you a bit.
Look, this is public record, my friend. Be careful what you say.
Does she listen?
No, but you have
You're fine.
Well, I'm fine, but you have a family.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I can just
one day your daughter might be like, gee, I wonder what dad was doing all those nights talking to his best friend Drew.
yeah. So she's heard some things like, the walls aren't thick. These aren't. I don't have soundproofed walls here. She's heard things. Um, she questions our relationship off the bat. Like she questions the thing that you and I have.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, you're married. Like at a certain point, the nagging or the complaining, it can do one of two things to you. It can either break you down,
Uh-huh.
or it can motivate you to
Right.
do better.
Right.
So I wonder if Mud, I think Mud just being a troll, he's just being a troll just for the sake of being a troll.
Right.
Right? It was a comedic device. But I also think that in a way he just wanted to exert control.
Yeah.
Because he could never do that in the past. He clearly couldn't do it in the end.
Yeah. In my marriage, I'm the nagger.
Are you really?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
I am.
I would have never guessed that from you.
Yeah. It's me. I'm the problem.
And now I'm imagining you with like hair curlers on, like a bathrobe, and a rolling pin, just waiting for her at the door.
Yeah.
Just ready to yell at her.
No, it's not like that, but I have like mental tics, like when it comes to like organizing things a certain way, or
Yeah.
and it's hard for me to just not say anything sometimes.
I get that.
So it's
It's easier just to do the thing.
right.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, this isn't a marriage
We
counseling
can talk about it
podcast.
off air. Ooh, you know what we could do? You can start a Patreon. We record the therapy session and then put the therapy session on Patreon.
I like it.
Yeah. But would the money be worth the agony that comes afterwards when she finds it and breaks you?
Well, she'd have to subscribe.
Nice.
Yeah.
You have any favorites about this episode that we haven't covered?
I just overall it was just a very enjoyable episode. There's nothing specific for me that stands out.
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan of the performance of Harry Mudd. He is a character that is just he is constantly trying to swindle. He is constantly trying to like just wiggle his way out of situations. And the actor is superb. Just absolutely superb. It makes me sad to think that we won't see him again until Rainn Wilson plays a part.
Oh wow, that's
yeah.
sad.
Yeah,
That's sad.
very disappointing. I'm reasonably sure this is the last time we see Harry Mudd in the original series. I think there's an episode of the animated series that we'll see him in. I don't know if he's portrayed by the same voice actor or not, or same actor as but I'm trying to see if I can get a list of episodes that he's in. Yeah, it's only the two. It's only the two. And then in the original the animated series, there's an episode called Mudd's Passion. And I'm seeing if Roger Caramel's in that as well.
That may be the wrong kind of Star Wars project or Star Trek project.
Yeah.
If it's named that.
It is him. It is him.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's cool. Hopefully someday we'll get an opportunity to watch that episode. But yeah,
I don't want to
go ahead.
I don't want to do it now, but I think that at a certain point I want to see if these characters that have been played are outlasting, the actor. A good example of that is Kirk, the character of Kirk himself. I think Kirk is absolutely going to outlast William Shatner.
Well, he already has.
You think so?
If you think about it, well, he's been portrayed by how many other people?
Two other people now.
3.
Are you including the kid from Star Trek 1?
No. We have Strange New Worlds. Paul Wesley.
We have Paul Wesley.
Chris
we have
Pine.
The best Chris.
And now you have William Shatner. So there's 3 people that are play the role.
That's fair. What about the little kid from Star Trek 2009. He drives off a cliff.
Sure, I guess that counts.
4. Okay. Spock has outlasted Nimoy.
Yep, who has also been portrayed by multiple actors at this point.
Yeah. Khan has outlasted Ricardo Montalban.
I would disagree on that one.
You think so?
I love Benedict Cumberbatch, but I don't think he brought the same gravitas to the table. And you'll see why when you see Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, there was an intensity in Ricardo Montalban's performance.
Yeah, but you're in for a treat, man. It's going to be worth the wait. I promise you. When we get ready to cover that, I want to be with you watching that together.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. I'll tell Brad I have plans that night.
Oh goodness.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean that's just really a fun episode. I really enjoyed it. I thought the performances were great. I wish the androids had a little bit more of an identity and felt like more of a threat than they were. But that aside, it was about Harry Mudd, right? The whole episode is about Harry Mudd, and he delivered in spades.
Absolutely, 100%.
So I'm very pleased with that performance, and I guess that kind of leads us into scoring it, right?
Well, I want to also ask you if you had a part that you hated about it, the episode.
The slapstick part.
The slapstick part, really?
Yeah, I think.
Oh man,
I'm not a fan of slapstick comedy, so when I see stuff like that, it doesn't really appeal to me.
So you weren't a fan of like Leslie Nielsen and Naked Gun?
That had a wit about it though. Like if you look at a movie like Airplane, for example, right? Like there's a lot of slapstick in that, but it's surrounded by wit. Sharp dialogue, things like that. Naked Gun is similar in that way, but it's been so long since I've seen those movies that, I would really kind of need to refresh myself on them. But it's like one of the, we've talked about my dislike of Jim Carrey in previous episodes.
Yeah, no, that nearly ruined our friendship.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's his slapstick humor that just really doesn't appeal to me. Ace Ventura, I just don't like that character, and I think Jim Carrey is better than that. Like I enjoyed him in his more silly or serious roles. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
Let me just ruin Naked Gun for you really quick before
Yeah.
you go on scoring.
Uh-huh.
They're doing a new one.
Yeah.
It's produced by Seth MacFarlane,
Okay.
starring, look at me, Liam Neeson.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Is
Neeson
that some
can be
kind of
fun.
like alliteration with the names? Was that intentional?
No, but it's welcomed for me.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson, I think he can be funny.
He can be really funny.
Yeah. So I think that I'm not gonna be with all these people with the pitchforks. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Before I judge it, and I think he'll knock it out of the park.
It's about that being the straight man while you're being silly, right?
Yeah.
So that could be fun.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Speaking of just the straight man comedy, I don't know why that triggered Matt Berry for me. I saw clips of Matt Berry in different skits
Oh God.
where he was offering to hold the drinks for a woman,
Uh-huh.
and then she's like, "Oh, this one goes to this friend over here. This one goes to this other friend. This one goes to my boyfriend." He just drops it and says "F you" and walks away. Just that delivery of it, it killed it for me. Matt Berry is quickly becoming one of my my favorites. Clips.
I adore him. He's got so many just amazing quotable moments in so many shows.
Yeah.
Definitely worth looking out for his back catalog of stuff.
Send me links. Send me links. I'll take a look.
Yeah, we'll talk off air. I have a bunch of recommendations for you. So.
I had to guess, out of a overall 10, I would say that you gave this episode a 7. Just because you weren't a fan of the slapstick, but you are a big fan of Harry Mudd.
Yeah, I was leaning more towards an 8. Overall,
okay.
just because I think that the rest of the episode kind of outweighs it. But now that you've made a case for the slapstick, let's go 7.5. I do think
Okay.
that knocks it down a little bit. I think that went on a little long and was a little unnecessary, and I would have preferred to have seen the crew of the Enterprise outsmart, um, a little bit more in an intellectual way. But that said, look, this is an episode that I would leave on. I would add it to a playlist of episodes that I would watch again.
Mhm.
And just another delightful performance of Harry Mudd. And the more I see of the original actor portraying Mudd, the more I appreciate Rainn Wilson's take.
Yeah, Rainn Wilson, I think he perfectly, played tribute to Robert Caramel.
Yeah.
His name? Robert
Mhm.
Caramel? Okay. I'm glad I knocked it out the park. But yeah, no, just fantastic seeing this guy reoccur.
Actually, if I'm being honest with you, you messed up his name pretty bad. It's Roger Carmel, not Robert Caramel.
You nodded your head when I said it.
I
You nodded your head. You nodded your head. You know that.
I corrected myself.
You were like this.
Whatever.
Like, go on.
Look,
go on, child. You got this.
Cut that. All right, so I think you're going to give this an 8.
Actually, I'm giving it a 7.
Wow, why?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I fell asleep.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
I fell asleep. And I promised myself I wouldn't, but it was in the third act that I fell asleep.
Mm.
I was perfectly engaged in the first act, with the android and the wrestling match inside inside the comm room. I was perfectly engaged. Every single scene with Mudd is engaging.
Mhm.
I thought that I got a few chuckles out of Stella being in the room where he just knocks on. It's just like, what's there? It's you notice the black, like this thing is not lit, it's not
Yeah.
colored, it's a black square.
Uh-huh.
And then when you finally find out, the payoff is just perfect.
Yeah.
It was played perfectly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the slapstick did go on for too long. And I would have liked to see Kirk beat Mudd just by, beating Mudd, not by destroying the androids. I think there could have been a different solution.
Mm.
But then again, you're getting into a territory where you have 50 minutes for an episode,
Right,
including credits, and you don't have the ability to do a two-parter. You don't have the ability to overrun that time as needed.
right.
At least now, I hate that we keep leaning on this this device of a 2024 show. With streaming, there are no commercials, so you can go the entire 1 hour runtime
Sure.
and be okay. But this one, you have to contend for act breaks and commercials
Mm.
and credits and things like that. So
There are still, even though we have that freedom in 2024, though, there are still a lot of shows that format for commercial TV, because a lot of these shows do have life outside of their original streaming providers. So, I don't think that's as much of a crutch as you think it is.
okay,
Like it's eventually, you might see Star Trek Discovery on broadcast TV, right? It's possible. So those episodes that have weird lengths to them, that's going to be tough to contend with.
yeah. But overall, good episode. It's good to see Harry Mudd back. What's up next for us? We have season 2, episode 9.
Correct.
Metamorphosis.
That is the next one. Yeah. On an isolated asteroid, Kirk finds Zephyr Cochrane, inventor of the warp drive, who has been missing for
Ooh.
150 years. This will be an interesting one. I have never seen this episode. Have you seen First Contact? Star Trek First Contact?
No, I've seen the Lower Decks episode where they go to the First Contact area.
Okay. Well, so First Contact is a next generation episode movie directed by Jonathan Frakes, and it deals with Zephram Cochrane and the creation of the warp drive.
Okay.
And it's a very
Is he
good
wearing
movie.
a bandana?
Yeah, he's played by why can't I think of his name? This is gonna really bother me.
Wait, the same actor in First Contact and Next Gen or
No.
TOS?
James
Okay.
James Cromwell plays him in the movie.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the same actor. I was
And
gonna
he
be
is
very
wearing
impressed.
like a bandana / leather hat with beads. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But yeah.
Okay. Are you dropping hints for you kind of present you want for your birthday? A leather hat with beads?
Well, I have no hair, so anything to cover that up would be great.
Okay.
So
All right. No promises.
yeah, that's all right.
But Zephyr has been missing for 150 years, just like Brad.
Yes.
I'm very interested.
I mean, we're not sure that they're not the same person, though.
I've never seen them in the same place before.
Neither have I.
Yeah. Oh, buddy, I love you. And to everyone else, thanks for tuning in. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you are a fan of Matt Berry, if you don't like Matt Berry, yell at us in the comments. We're everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, right?
We don't use it, but yes.
We're there.
I'd love to start
We're
using
there.
it, though.
Yeah, give us a reason. But it's been a pleasure. Until next week.
See you next time, folks. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of yet another Star Trek podcast. We are a part of the Retro Sessions Network. This episode was recorded on May 19th, 2024. It's hosted by Majid and Drew, because Brad's still not here. I hope he comes back. Thank you to William Grubbelaar for writing the music for this show. It's all original and it's all his. He wrote our songs Warp Speed, To the Stars, and if you'd like to listen to more of his amazing talent, head on over to his SoundCloud page. We have a link to that in the show notes. We've also got a link to George Ratau, who made us look like Lower Decks characters. If you'd like to hire him for any of your animation needs, we have a link for that in the show notes as well. Of course, we'd like to direct you to all of the links in our show notes, including our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Yet Another ST Pod. Or even better, head on over to our website, www.yetanotherstpod.com, where you'll find links to all of our episodes as well as all kinds of other fun stuff, including a link to our Discord room, in which you can come by and share pictures of your cats and talk about video games and film and TV and all the kind of nerdy stuff that your heart desires. We'd love to see you there. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.